Good afternoon. Welcome to our June SugarCRM user group. I am your host, Dean Pontarelli. I am the Director of Marketing here at Technology Advisors. And today's topic is going to be on relationship selling. And our user group hosts for today, those of you who've been with us will recognize Megan Sheehan, our Sugar Trainer and Business Analyst, and Justin Kuhlthau, our Sugar Practice Manager. And with us this afternoon, we have a guest host, Brandon Sellers, the VP of Business Development for Collabspot. So here's a quick overview of our agenda today. A lot of talk about sales and the relationships that are crucial for sales, and not just in the short term, but in the long term. And what does that mean in today's environment? Brandon's going to talk to us a little bit about that, and he's going to show us how products like Collabspot intertwine with your SugarCRM to help enhance that sales experience. So I would like to turn the floor over to Brandon.
All right, great. Hey, everyone. My name is Brandon Sellers. I'm the VP of Biz Dev at Collabspot. Here to talk to you guys a lot today about one of my favorite topics, relationship selling, right? And just to kind of jump right into it, relationship selling is definitely this big buzzword, right? Which is awesome for marketers and sales folks like myself, because we can throw that into some landing pages or in our sales collateral and just magically sell stuff, right? Doesn't quite work like that always, but the bigger problem with buzzwords is it kind of jumbles up these definitions of what is relationship selling really. So I wanted to kind of begin this presentation by just defining, what are we talking about when we say relationship selling. So I found this this really great definition of relationship selling on Sales Hacker. I don't know how many of you guys check out the Sales Hacker blog, some interesting stuff on there, but it says relationship selling is a sales tactic by which a salesperson seeks to build rapport and earn a buyer's trust to win deals rather than highlighting product features or negotiating the price. So kind of two things that really stand out there for me is building rapport and earning a buyer's trust. And I think that's kind of the core of what relationship selling really is, especially in 2018. So I kind of simplified this definition to be relationship selling equals relationship building. Again, what's kind of different in 2018, however, is that we have these huge buying groups that we're selling into. Right, so there might be there's on average 6.8 buyers in every, buying group. I'm sure you guys have heard that statistic before, meaning that's a lot of relationships and potential relationships to manage. Not only that, though, we have more people than ever that are also touching our buyers even before they actually make a purchase, right? So we could have, obviously, our, account executives, BDRs, SDRs, maybe VP of sales directors, all in the sales organization touching our buyers. We can also have customer support and customer success that often come in before we actually make a purchase to have some sort of interaction with someone in that buying group, right? So, what we think of in 2018 as relationship selling isn't just how I, as a sales rep, manage a relationship with one person, or even in whole buying group. But how's my entire company? How do we manage my entire team's relationship with my prospect, right? So that's what relationship is. That's what we're going to be talking about. But let's take a step back, look at the sales landscape to understand why this stuff is so important. And I think this really illustrates the problem pretty well. This graph which is from CEB. Since 2012, we've seen a steady decline actually in the percentage of salespeople making quota from 53% or 63% down to 53%, which is kind of astonishing to me, because in that amount of time, there's been record amounts of investment in sales technology and sales methodology, right? We've had huge improvements in investments in CRM. We've had, predictive intelligence, artificial intelligence, account-based everything, all this new sales stuff that's supposed to make us better, but just hasn't done the job. So we kind of ask ourselves, why? Like, what is going on that our salespeople just are not being as effective as we would hope they would be, given the amount of investment that we're doing? So I kind of think the problem harkens back to the days of Blockbuster. I like kind of to tell a little bit of a story in these presentations. So I'm going to make a little bit of an analogy here to, when I was a kid and, I wanted to see a movie, I would, of course, go to Blockbuster. I was a big Will Smith fan, right? I was like, yeah, let's go to Blockbuster. I want to see Independence Day. We go to Blockbuster, we pick it up, check out, go home, make some popcorn, watch a movie. Then you go back a couple of days later, hopefully, to actually return the DVD, or I guess the VHS at that point. And you say, okay, I want to watch another Will Smith movie, but guess what? There's no Will Smith section for Brandon Sellers. There's no Will Smith section. There's no any sort of section like that that's really kind of built for me as a consumer, right? And that's where Netflix really kind of stepped in and changed the game. Now, they did change the game in a number of different ways, but one of the key ways they did that was by saying, now there is a Will Smith section for Brandon Sellers. There is a Breaking Bad type section for Brandon Sellers. Netflix will know if I watch Game of Thrones, they'll say, hey, you might also like Vikings. And what that does is that really improves the overall customer experience. And what happens is Netflix becomes my de facto trusted advisor for movies, right? And the same thing happens with Spotify, right? You listen to Spotify and they start to learn about you. They understand what you like. They understand your challenges as a music listener and what you want to find, and they bring forth things that you would like, right? So Spotify becomes your de facto music trusted advisor. And today's B2B buyers, they want that same sort of trusted advisor in their B2B buying situations, right? So a couple stats here that really kind of illustrate that. 83% of B2B buyers say it's absolutely critical or very important to interact with a salesperson who isn't focused, who is focused on helping them achieve business goals, not a quick sale. 80% of B2B buyers say it's absolutely critical or very important to interact with a salesperson who doesn't try to sell them something they don't need. 79% of B2B buyers say it's absolutely critical or very important to interact with a salesperson who is a trusted advisor, right? So these buyers that are more and more kind of having grown up in this world of Spotify and Netflix and Amazon, they want that same customer experience when they go to make a purchase, right? And what that comes down to is, do you have a relationship with your prospect, with everyone in your buying group, your total prospect, so that you can build that solution, build that message, so you can deliver across the entire buying group the best solution and the best message, right? So that's important, and that's where kind of relationship selling really comes into play. So what we're going to do right now that we've kind of painted the picture a little bit, we are going to talk through three ways that companies are adapting to this new buying landscape, and we'll talk through some best practices, and then toward the end we'll have a little quick demo of Collabspot and what that does, right? So start with adaption number 1, which is map and understand your current relationships. So again, I mentioned this stat before, 6.8. That's the average number of buyers weighing in on a purchasing decision. That's from CEB. It's a pretty famous stat. I'm sure you guys have heard it, but it rings so true, especially in 2018. We have these large buying groups, and you need to cater to all of them. If you're just talking to one person in your buying organization, then you aren't in control of the deal, right? And then so kind of the baseline and the way to start to make sure you map and understand your current relationships is by just having the data in the CRM, just making your CRM your single source of truth, right? And then this is like really simple stuff, right? This is like CRM Adaption 101. I know everyone's like, yeah, I got this. This is easy. Add contacts in my CRM, blah, 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 blah. But that all is true until, you get a sales rep, an email comes in, you're like, I should add this contact into my CRM. Maybe I'll do it later. And then another one comes in, you're like, okay, maybe I'll do that one later. And then you keep doing that and doing that and doing that, and later doesn't come for a lot of your contacts, right? That's a problem. That means you don't have completeness in your CRM from a contact standpoint. So when actually Collabspot Connect, what we do is we take, the emails that you have going back and forth in your inbox, compare them to the contacts that you have in your CRM. We say, hey, you've been emailing back and forth with such and such, but they're not in your CRM. Do you want to add them as a contact in Sugar? Then you just have to click a couple buttons, and you are good to go. They're added in Sugar. So that way, even if you kind of fall behind a little bit in terms of the contacts that you're emailing back and forth with that should be in Sugar, you can easily always pull a list of those, take a couple minutes, click through, have them all added into CRM. Right? So the next step, once you have those contacts in your CRM, is to make sure that you really understand who they are, right? So obviously, we usually have first name, last name, email. Maybe you might have things like title. But to start to kind of get a little bit more granular with the information we have, to understand a little bit deeper about the demographics and even the psychographics of our customer, you want to make sure that you have as much data in there as possible. An awesome tool for this is definitely Sugar's own hint. With a click of a button, you can bring in, things like social information, things that will be on their LinkedIn page, like, college and things like that they went to, all this information that you can use to better kind of understand your prospect from within your CRM without having to go back and forth between another system. Once we have an understanding of a little bit more about who those prospects are, then let's start to think about, okay, let's understand how often we're speaking with these prospects, with these opportunities, accounts, contacts, right? And we'll talk a little bit later about how exactly you can get this data in your CRM. But if you have the email communication data in your CRM, then you can start to map out, hey, how often are we talking to this prospect? Is it 2 years, 2 months, 2 days? That makes a huge difference in like the quality of the relationship, right? So being able to get that data in your CRM so you can map that out, that's huge in starting to understand, the velocity of the relationship. And then 3 here will be understanding, who at your company has those strong relationships. Are there specific sales reps that have very strong relationships with some prospects that you guys can leverage? If I am prospecting to account, who might I want to have me do an introduction, right? And then so having that information about who are your company's contacts can again kind of empower you to be able to make better prospecting decisions and to be able to make better decisions in terms of when you're talking to a buyer group deep in a deal, who do you want to leverage in order to ask questions to certain prospects or to certain buyers and things like that. So that's incredibly useful as well. So this is all about getting your communication data in CRM and being able to graph it. So then you can make better decisions based on that information, right? Okay, and then we're going to say adaption number 2, understand the context really of these relationships. And I'm going to go back to a stat that we talked about before, being 83% of B2B buyers say it's absolutely critical or very important to interact with a salesperson who is focused on helping us achieve goals, not just a quick sale. Right, and this kind of goes back to a relationship in 2018. Relationship sales isn't so much, I should say, about hey, let's go golf. It's more about, hey, what are your business problems that you're facing, and how can I, as a sales rep, help you and your entire buying group actually solve your problems, right? So what you can do, once you have data in your CRM, once you have that communication data flowing through your CRM, you can actually email data. You can actually go in and get a peek. Hey, what are the important communications going on between my sales reps and for us it'll be their sales reps. What are the important conversations that are going on between maybe our customer success team or customer support team and the VP of sales there, right? What are they saying? What issues are they bringing up? What problems are they having? What have they uncovered that I otherwise would never have uncovered, right? So having that information and that 360 degree transparency inside those communications is key, so you can understand that stuff. So then you can go back and talk to your customer success or customer support rep and say, hey, what was going on there? Why did they have that problem? Or you can go back to your business development rep and say, hey, they mentioned this. Why was that an issue for them? What problem are they trying to solve? Right? And those are likely going to be from different people in your prospect buying group. And then you can put together a solution for them, a message for them that solves everyone's problems, not just a single person inside the buying group, right? And then so if you are able to, like I said, if you're able to have that data flowing inside your CRM, that email data transparently into your CRM, that's going to make that process 10 times easier. All right, and then adaption number 3, manage your relationships and continuously engage. I'm going to go back to another stat that we mentioned earlier, being 79% of B2B buyers say it's absolutely critical or very important to interact with a salesperson who's a trusted advisor. And the thing about trusted advisors is they do not just come around when they want to sell you something. They are always there. They are always providing value. They are always striving to help you achieve your business goals, right? And then it's going to be key in the relationship process to be able to manage, okay, when am I reaching out to people? And that's why we actually use Collabspot Connect to map out and kind of score our relationships. And then we can see, hey, when is it, been 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks since we've reached out to an account? When do we want to step back in? We can kind of build these triggers and then say, okay, once we've gone on past, a 70 communication score, we're going to reach out to this account and just kind of touch base with them, right? And then a lot of people always say, sure, we can touch base with this account, but what do we say? what are we saying to them? Again, let's not just ask about, hey, how's your wife doing? Let's add value to their business. Let's see how we can help them achieve their business goals, right? Some things that we like to do as a company is, we like to go look into their tech stack and see, using a Datanize or a similar tech stack tool, see from a technology standpoint, if this applies to, your business, have they, made any changes? And then if so, can we reach out and provide any sort of value, right? So recently, one of our current customers, they actually switched a lot of their company from Gmail to 365. Traditionally, we're a Gmail-only solution. We do now have an Office 365 solution, but when they switched over, they didn't realize we had an Office 365 solution. So they were kind of up in the air. They're like, I don't know what's going on. We were able to look at a Datanize type tool and say, hey guys, saw that you switched over to 365. Just to let you know, your licenses, you could just transfer those over if need be. Awesome. Kept them happy. Even added a ton of license to that account, right? So that was a way that we could continuously add value, right? You could do the same thing by, checking on something like Crunchbase and Mattermark, even SEC documents, see, what's going on with the company. If there's any big changes there that you could possibly help your contact out with, even just going on LinkedIn, seeing, what hiring decisions that they're making. possibly there is some way you can help out and add value there. Just looking for different ways to add value. And then, finally, you can kind of take a lot of the same methodologies and apply it to how you manage your pipeline. So if I am kind of late in the quarter and I want to make sure that I'm working on deals that are going to close, a great way to tell that is, obviously deal stages, they play their part, but also a really great way to tell is to tell what's going to close is, who am I communicating most with, right? So as a sales rep or a sales manager even, if I can sort and see, who do I have a high velocity, who am I having high velocity conversations with, if I can focus on those, like we could potentially close more deals, right? On the flip side, if I am seeing deals where there's low velocity of communication or communication has really dropped off, that's when I can say, okay, I'm going to flip this over and focus on deals that are slipping, right? So if I have that communication data in my CRM, I can do that and I can manipulate this data to be able to tell me, different stories about what's going on, right? So a couple key metrics for relationships for sales teams. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading this. Number one, great metrics is overall relationship depth. How many people at a company or organization are you speaking to? Obviously, we've talked a little bit about a ton of buyers and the person involved in the purchasing decision. If you're only talking to one, you're really not in control of the deal. So let's dive deeper into this account. Relationship completeness. It's not all about depth. It's also about, hey, are you talking to the right people? Legal, C-suite, marketing, sales. Are you talking to the right type of titles? Directors, managers, things like that. Relationship quality. Are you having an engaged two-way conversation, or is it a one-sided conversation? Obviously, that's a completely different relationship. So you want to keep an eye on that. Then we talk about relationship frequency. How often are we speaking with this account opportunity contact? Then we talk about overall relationship score. What's your overall relationship quality with an account? Could be just a score, something like similar to what's provided by CloudSpot Connect, right? And so now I'm gonna actually go through and do a short demonstration of CloudSpot Connect and CloudSpot Connect Pro, and how we would use this kind of every day in terms of relationship selling. So CloudSpot Connect actually is two sidebars, really, right? So we have one sidebar that sits inside Gmail that brings Sugar inside Gmail, right? So I can access any account or record from right inside Gmail, and I can also edit this account. So I can search for Dan. Okay.
Hey, Brandon, are you showing your screen right now? Because I'm still seeing the demo slide.
Oh.
Got it.
Got it? All right, sorry about that. All right, so yeah, like I was saying, CloudSpot is a sidebar. This is just on the side here, inside Gmail. If I wanted to, it does bring all Sugar inside Gmail. So if I did want to search for any record, I could search for a record, and I could click. I could jump into a record, I could view the record, and I can see anything related to this record, even old emails that we had going back and forth. I can also edit this record if I wanted to, or I can view it in Sugar, which is great. And a lot of the power, however, comes in when we open up an email, and then we're able to hover over our contacts, and then we're able to see who I've been contacting back and forth. I have an opportunity with them. I can jump in there, and I can edit this. It does a really great job of bringing everything in Sugar. or everything into Gmail. And then what's nice is I can sync my emails back to Sugar using this tool. There's a Save to SugarCRM option and a Quick Save to SugarCRM option. I can click Save to SugarCRM, and I can choose, what accounts I want to sync this email to, right? This is a great email data inside Sugar, which is like a core of how we want to of building the relationships, right? And then also one thing that we noted is, hey, there's missing contacts a lot. If I note that there's a missing contact with Collabspot Connect, I can jump in and say, okay, I see that there's a couple contacts that we have missing here. Let me just go and add them as a contact now. A couple clicks. You can add them, fill out the information, and you can add them into Sugar. Or, like I was saying before, we have our new contact feature, and I can say, hey, who have I been emailing back and forth with over the past 30 days that I don't have in Sugar? And it looks like I've been doing a pretty good job here, at least Chris has. And so I'll just have a couple people that we want to add. I can click them, fill out any information, and then go ahead and save them and add them into Sugar. Right? So that's all, from your inbox, how you can be getting the data that you need into Sugar in order to be able to understand the relationships. But if you're to go kind of the flip side and say, hey, let me look at this from Sugar's point of view, just my screen quickly. What our sidebar inside Sugar does is it brings in all of this metadata it takes the metadata of the emails that you have going on between your team and your prospects team, right? So anyone on your team and any contact that is related to this opportunity, you're going to see these emails right here, right? And then you're going to also be able to take a look and then click, take a look and see, just what emails are going back and forth. But you can also copy the CRM, right? And they'll actually sync automatically there. And then once you have this feed of information here, you can then, who has been talking to who. You can then go to your email field and look more granularly if those emails haven't synced over yet. But when they sync over, you can read the emails, take a little more granular view. Or if an email you don't have control over, I can't sync this email because I wasn't actually on that chain. Oh, actually a meeting, but if there's an email that I wasn't on the chain from, I could, ask my rep, ask Catherine here, hey, could you sync that email, check it out, read what's going on, then I'm able to have a more complete view of my prospect here. I can also kind of do a lot of the graphical things, check how many inbound emails I've got going on, how many outbound emails we sent over the course of time, what's the velocity of the relationship, how many meetings we've had going on back and forth. I can also look, which is this last 90-day activity graph. Then in our contact engagement graph, I can actually see, okay, in total, how many people am I talking to? And who has responded and who has not. I have 4 people, or 6 total people I'm in contact with. 4 have not responded, and 2 have responded. So from a depth standpoint, I can see how many people that I'm having conversations with, right? And then just kind of overall kind of activity scores here. And then finally, our relationships analytics graph, which really does a great job of telling you how many people or who at your company has the strongest relationships with who at your prospect here. So this graph, unfortunately, is mostly Chris here. But we can see Chris sent 25 emails to Lewis and received 2. We can also see Chris sent 33 emails from Betty, to Betty and then received 11 from her. So we get a really good idea of who at your company has really strong relationships, right? And then all this information is just meant so that you as a sales rep, and even customer success and customer support, can more deeply understand your relationships, all of the relationships that you have with an account, and then be able to make decisions about how you position your product, what product that you recommend, based on the pains that you've uncovered. And that's really what, in 2018, that's what relationship selling is all about. Again, not so much about going golfing or asking how someone's wife is doing. It's taking this information, understanding, what emails are going back and forth, understanding the pains based on this stuff, and then being able to figure out, okay, how can we add the most value, and then just making sure that we measure, how often we're there to add value, and then keeping up with the relationship. So.
Hey, Brandon, we have a couple of questions.
Okay.
One question is asking, how do I get the sidebar inside Sugar?
And for context, I believe that's coming from someone who's already using Collabspot in Gmail and has been for a while.
Cool. So the sidebar is actually in a new product line. So I am not sure. We have two sidebars. One is kind of our classic tool, which would be you'd be able to use if you were kind of a long time Collabspot user, like you're probably using our Collabspot Classic sidebar. And then we have our Collabspot Connect sidebar, which is the one that looks a lot more like what I have here. And then so if you were to if you wanted to use the Sugar sidebar, you could actually just go to our website, collabspot.com, and then go to Connect for Gmail, and then go to this link, and then you can download the new extension, and there are instructions for how to download the sidebar for Sugar.
All right, and then Brandon, I also have a question from me. So my question was the sidebar in Sugar and all the data that we're seeing there, the email metadata, is that pulling from emails that users have pushed into Sugar, or is that pulling directly off the email server so that you're capturing everything, even those emails that are not getting pushed into Sugar?
Yeah, so that's based on the, just like you said, that's actually pulling straight from your email server. So you don't have to actually, this feed, you don't have to actually push any of these emails manually. They're going to automatically give you this feed. You can go ahead and manually actually decide to actually sync them, or you're always going to automatically get this feed, so you never completely miss any emails or meetings that are going on back and forth.
Very cool.
All right.
All right, well, Brandon will remain on the line for the remainder of the call. We want to thank him for taking us through this presentation today. We're going to go over our kind of usual wrap-up stuff now about new releases and upcoming events, just to keep you guys on top of life. So Megan and Justin are going to handle that.
All right. So in terms of new releases, our last user group was all about the, not the right slide. All right, looks like my slides did not make it in here. Give me a second and I will do screen share. The latest release is the 8.0 summer release. Of course, I don't have.
You know, I have, well, the deck I have, though, is, I assume,
It's the slides that I emailed you on Friday.
and my email won't open.
Oh, right.
I'm zero help right now.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Give us 1 second.
Justin, I noticed you were not being of any assistance right now. Can I just say that?
I can't share my screen.
Way to fail, Justin.
Making me download as well. Plus, it doesn't like the Surface tablet.
Oh, that's right.
Here.
We can talk about some of these other things from your upcoming event.
All right, yeah. Well, while she's doing that, I'll talk about the upcoming events. If you go to the bottom of your screen right now, there's those widgets there. The one that's the green square with the little piece of paper in it, that's your resources. And what you'll find in there is, first of all, Brandon has been awesome and provided us with the ultimate guide to B2B relationship selling. So you can take what he's talked about today and really put that into action for yourselves and have a step-by-step guide on that. In addition, you will find the links for, first of all, our next user group, which will be in August, as you can see here, August 22nd. And we've talked about advanced workflow before in previous user groups, but what we're going to do in this upcoming user group is Justin and Megan are going to dive into a couple of the advanced workflows that they find particularly interesting and useful and show you how to build those, answer your questions on that, and you know, take you through a couple of examples that they find particularly insightful. In addition to that, earlier this summer, in July, we're going to have a webinar on demand generation myths, and we're going to debunk 3 of those demand generation myths and give you solutions for replacing those defunct advices or the defunct advice that you may have received about those particular aspects. And then, so the registration for those 2 events can be found in those resources. And not found in those resources, but keep an eye out. And if you are not on our events list, or if you think this would interest members of your team who aren't on our events list, please have them email me at marketing@techadv.com and I will get them on our events list. Oh, somebody is angry. We are going to be having a series of webinars on CRM security. You know, we'll start with kind of general stuff and we'll get into a little bit more specifics. So just wanted to put that on your radar. We're still hashing that out, but keep an eye out for that coming up.
I'm ready.
All right, Megan's ready.
Okay, so correct new releases slides. The spring 18/8.0 release came out in April, May, April. Yes, end of April. We did an entire user group about this at our last user group session, so just a couple quick highlights. Really the biggest feature change here is the data privacy and GDPR features. And then also if you are not a Sugar On Demand or Sugar Cloud customer, this is your chance to get all of the new features that have come out in the last 3 demand releases. So Sugar has upgraded just about everyone who's hosted on demand at this point. But if you are not hosted on demand, this is definitely something you should be talking to your team about, upgrading to 8.0 and getting access to all of the latest features. Got the link here, and I'm sure Deneen will include it in her email to review that user group. If you missed that one, I'd like to go back and get that information.
And you guys, you can also find any of these videos, you'll also find on the videos page of our website.
Good to know. Anytime Sugar has a new release, there's a whole bunch of supporting releases that come with it for all of the different plugins and add-ons. So mobile SDK, Outlook plugin, Notes plugin, Customer Journey, and Marketo connector all had supporting releases to go along with 8.0. No new features necessarily in any of those releases, just support for the latest release. And I do want to highlight for those who are Outlook users, the Outlook plugin does need to be upgraded for use with 8.0. So if you are upgrading to 8.0, make sure that your users are also updating their Outlook plugin, or it's going to stop working when your Sugar is upgraded. And then one other release This is also a supporting release, but had a couple of new features in it, which is Hint. Hint 4.0 and 4.01 have been released with a couple of new additional features for Hint. One of them is kind of introducing your users to Hint, so a pop-up in-app tour on the login screen that just tells people about what Hint is and what it can do. So kind of built-in training for your users on what to do with Hint. And the other big change here is the ability for administrators to configure the Hint dashboards. This is something that Justin and I have been talking about as a frustration with Hint for a while, so we're really excited that this is now something that they've put in our hands as Sugar administrators, that we can change what fields are on that dashboard, and if we want to include any of our Sugar fields on that dashboard, we can.
In May, we had our Chicago Sugar Workshop, normally held at the Park Ridge Country Club. This year was the first year we've held it here at the Offices of Technology Advisors, and we increased it to be a 3-day event. The first day we held one-on-one meetings with anyone who wanted to come in and talk about anything they wanted to talk about. So we had people come in and talk about what their future plans are. Some come in and just get some free admin or end user training on specific things they wanted to see. The next day we had kind of our workshop where we had presentations from a bunch of different groups: Collabspot, Acton, ExpertDoc, formerly Expirido, 3C Logic phone integration, as well as IT Sapiens, which provides advanced reporting. And we had a customer presenting some of what they do on IT Sapiens. We also presented the new features of Sugar, and Sugar came in and presented their roadmap, and our president, Sam Biardo, did a very nice 1-hour presentation on everything GDPR, and a bunch of other presentations as well. And then the third day was training crafted for the attendees. Whatever people wanted to see, we did training on. We did a lot of advanced workflow training, as well as some admin and simple end user things for reporting and dashboards. So it was a very nice, very free workshop anyone can come to, so make plans to attend our next one.
Which, just FYI, going forward will probably always be in the spring instead of in the autumn like we've done the past 3 years, because Sugar is now doing their event in the autumn, so we don't want to overlap them or steal their thunder with our magnificence. So that's usually around the time of year you can expect it.
Yep, that was it.
All right, so of course, as usual, if you have any follow-up questions for us or for Brandon, please send them our way. You can always, if you get an email from marketing@techadv, you can always just reply to that. It'll come straight to me, and I will direct you to the correct person. Again, just a reminder about those links and resources in your widgets there. Our upcoming user group, next one will be in August, and we hope that you will join us for that one as well. So thank you all for your attention today. Thank you again to Brandon for being here and for taking us through your awesome presentation and the concept of relationship selling, which I think makes a lot of sense, and it's something that's really relevant to all of us.